What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Drea, and it's been a while, but as you guys can tell by the title, we are in a new series project, y'all. I've really been thinking about this for a long time. I've been wanting to start a podcast, but I wanted it to kind of be like a video podcast, not just audio. So we have our Make It Make Sense podcast kick off today. The episode 1 starts today. I know, I'm so excited, y'all. First of all, thank you all for being loyal. Those who have been still subscribed to the channel, we are going in a new direction. So for those who are loyal, shout out to y'all. I love you all. Shout out to the bell notification gang. And please subscribe because there's some exciting things, some exciting topics that I want to get into. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce my guest today. My guest today is none other than my mother. So let's say hello to Vanessa Pringle, aka VP, aka Madre, aka Mama the Best Mama. So let's kind of get into it. Today's topic is, I'm going to let you introduce today's topic. It's one of your favorite sayings. I thought, what better person to start this podcast and make this the first episode than none other than my mom, who is the one who actually have been saying this all of my life. So, what is today's topic that we're getting to today?
So today's topic is...
And I need you to say it just like you were saying it to me and Angie all of our lives, so don't even do that. Go ahead, say it.
Does that make sense to you?
First of all, I want to give context to this whole conversation. So the podcast is Make It Make Sense, right? And it's really just a discussion diving into just real life issues, questions that you all submit, or things that like me and my friends and family, we just kind of discuss. I'm a deep person, meaning I really like having deep conversations, not just surface conversations. So my mom all of our lives have been telling us, does that make sense to you? And though she's saying it like that, like, does that make sense to you? It was not like that. Let me give some context to this. I did put you on the spot.
Well, it depends on what was going on in that moment. So, it may have been, a little more whatever, depending on, again, what we were dealing with, But, yeah, does that make sense to you?
First of all, let me get some context to this. So my mom always told my sister and I am raising champions. I am raising women of God. I'm raising leaders. So when things would happen and she wanted us to think, she would say, now, does that make sense to you? And it was really, when I was growing up, I was so annoyed with it because I was like, why is she acting like we stupid? For example, do you remember a time where you used that? Think hard and tell the people. What was a time where you was like, you used that phrase?
I can't remember like a specific time. Like I remember saying it a lot, and I also remember saying a lot, that I'm raising champions and not chumps. So, my whole thought was like, does that make sense to you? Like, I want you to think for yourself. And I want you to think about what you're saying and what you're doing right now. Like, really, just take a moment to think about it. So, I don't know. It was so many times I said it. I don't have a specific, that one time where I remember this day when this happened and I said it. I don't have that right now. But I'm sure if you tell me something, I might remember.
I remember countless times where my mom, for example, I think what I did was I threw the dirty clothes. Like, so the thing about when you're in your teenage years, you learn how to really wash your own clothes and stuff like that. I think I added too much in the laundry or something like that, and it started to overfill or something happened or whatever the case may be. And though that was a honest mistake, and she wasn't like yelling at me when she was correcting me, but she was telling me like to think, like, if you realize something's not working, it's up to you to think logically about this and say, what is the solution? What could I do to prevent this thing from happening? And so that was something that really stuck with me And I use that in my adult life. Like, stuff happens. Unfortunately, I do find myself asking people that when I'm doing my job and I'm working and people do silly stuff, I'm like, did that make sense to you to do that? Like, does that really make sense? Like, what you just did, And I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound like my mom. And it's like, it's so annoyingly amazing, like the phrase. And so what I wanted to do when starting this podcast it's called Make It Make Sense, because there are just so many things that are happening. There's so many things we could discuss, and we really just need to sit down and reason together. Now that I also am a Christian, avid believer in Jesus Christ, so a lot of my life and a lot of the decisions I make is governed on that higher reverence for God. So it's not just the little basic, I don't want to drive past the speed limit because it's against the law. That is some of the things that I obviously adhere to, but I also know if I can get away with it too, is that still okay to do just because no one's right here, And so pretty much, before we get really, really into the discussion on things that just make sense and does that make sense to you, concept, this podcast is truly God. I'm gonna be honest with you, because honestly, I have been dragging my feet. You all know the last posting and uploads that I've done has been it's been a gap, and I've been really trying to make sure that what I do is what God would have me do. And though my conversation in these different topics we're going to get into touch a lot on like the normal life, everyday life questions and things of that nature, and there will be different guests that comes on the show, I really want it to be something that people take away from that, right? We are reasoning. We are talking about real practical life application of different concepts and things that happen in the life in the world. So from those things that are very serious to those things that are super light and just informational. Okay, so stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's just get into it. I really didn't prep my mom. I really just did this off the cuff. Like, it's off the cuff, guys. This is the first episode. I really wanted her to be the first one to launch this with me, just to get into reasoning. And so what was your motive behind us being leaders? Or I guess the question that I really want to know, and what people might want to know, is like, where did that come from? Where's the need, or I'm raising champions, and how was that raising young girls? And you can get into whatever you feel more comfortable, because this is an open, safe space. So y'all might hear this is my mama, okay? So y'all might hear some stuff about me. Don't be going in the comment section cutting up like, Drea, you used to throw your clothes in here, da. Don't even do that to me. It's a safe space, okay? It's a safe space. And the comment section is, so if you can relate, make sure you like the video and comment below if you can relate to anything that we're talking about. So, what was it like raising me, without putting energy business out like that? Yeah, Talk about me. What was it like?
I think that all parents, when you come to grips with understanding that I'm responsible for this person, their well-being, what they do on a day-to-day, them having, a safe place to call home, and food to eat, clothes to wear, mental support, emotional support, just everything about this person you're responsible for. And so as your children grow up and begin to mature, you're as parents are already thinking down the road. You're thinking, okay, one day my child is going to go from elementary to junior high. I'm not going to take them to the bus stop. One day they're going to, get on the bus themselves, or they're going to, walk to school or home from school. They're going to go with their friends. They're not going to go to the sitter. They're going to get keys and come into the house themselves. So you're always thinking about preparing them for what's next, right? Not rushing them, and fully taking, joy and time to embrace what's happening now, but just using that time together as teachable moments. And so what I found with my girls, because our situation is rather unique, and we maybe will talk about that.
Well, you can give them a little snippet. When did you can give them a little snippet that will flow with what you're saying.
Okay. So I have a unique, and it's so ironic that I'm in this space doing this, because for Mother's Day I shared something with my other daughter, and we were talking about my unique journey to motherhood. So I carried my girls in my heart for a long time. I didn't birth them naturally. My daughters were actually adopted. And so when I first met them, they were 11. And they came to live with me. We started hanging out when they were like 11 and a half, 12 years old. And they actually came to live with me when they were 13, turning 14.
Right. Yes.
And so I noticed that there were just a lot of amazing things about them. First of all, I used to always tell them, like, your strength is incredible to me. Like when they would tell me things that they had experienced or things that they had to deal with and how they navigated that, I'm like, I'm a big baby. Like, I would just sit and sob.
Don't be crying right now. Your eyes water. Why you listen here?
That's me. I'm like, oh my God, my baby was out there, by themselves doing that. And so when because I got them, they're preteen, like teenagers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of things that have happened in all these years, and a lot of good life lessons and some positive things that have happened, but there's also a lot of just stuff that was just needed to be filtered out. It needed to be done away with. It just needed to just not take up headspace or better, so because I began to notice that, when you're inside family, when you're growing up with people, when you're around people, not just, just at work or a close friend or a significant other, you start to pick up mannerisms, you pick up sayings, things that they do, you just kind of pick it up. And yes. So that is what I was kind of dealing with my daughters. And so I had to filter through a lot of the muck that I'm like, okay, let's forget about this person and that person and this experience and that experience, and let's think, does that make sense to you? Like, not what so-and-so said or what this lady or that person, whomever taught you. Let's think about you're a smart cookie. You managed to, make a lot of things happen, good and bad around here, right? So does that make sense to you? I just want you to be an independent thinker. Mm-hmm. Because again, when you release your children, or you send them off to school or off to college, or they start adulting in a career workplace, you want them to be, independent thinkers, and you want them to be people that produce good fruit, and not just throwing stuff out there in the world and letting somebody else deal with it or clean it up or whatever. And so in my rearing teenage girls, it was a lot of work.
To say the least.
To say the very least. And so, there was just a lot of things, a lot of little phrases that just really kept us, you develop your own dialogue and your own things. Yes. Like one of the things that we picked up the other day, we were in shopping and Andrea found this little thing that sits on your desk, and normally like someone's name would go there, like the little nameplate that goes either on your door or on your
I know
desk.
what you're talking about.
And it said, what?
Ask your father. So let me tell y'all what that's about, if I can interrupt you for a hot second. Mm-hmm. So my mom is unmarried at this time. And with that, like when we were introduced or have known her all of our lives, all of the time we've been with her, she's been unmarried. And so that could come with a lot of pressure, getting these teenage girls, never ever have done anything of the sort, like being trained in how to foster children who are not yours and things of that nature, right? Or that you didn't birth. And so one thing my mom would say is, because we were high maintenance, let's just be honest, we had a lot of things that we did not have, but we also had a lot of dreams and a lot of things that we wished and hoped for. So we weren't ones who sat in like, okay, I didn't have this, I won't ever have it. We were the ones who said, I didn't have this and I'm going to work hard to be able to have the nice things that I desire, right? Mm-hmm. So with that came a lot of pressure. So we wanted to do all the sports. We wanted to do everything. We wanted the shoes. We wanted everything. And my mom, she wouldn't say this, and that she was one of those, like, them rich aunts type things. And I say wealthy rich aunts. She was like the ones who don't have the kids, they just career women, and they just have all this wonderful resources and things of that nature, travel where they want to, live in the beautiful home. He was living like in a 5-bedroom home. She was in a right. So when we came on the scene, we were like, wait, there's opportunity to get, So we were like, You know, and it didn't help that she did spoil us when we got with her, because y'all saw her tearing up like she was about to cry. We just started the podcast. Like, we not doing that. I'm just like, it's a safe space. But if you cry, I might cry. So anyway, one of the things that my mom will always say is, okay, so I don't want you to reach out. I don't want you to pull from me things that you should be asking God for. And that wasn't in saying that like, oh, okay, if you needed lunch money, you got to ask God and somehow it's going to give it to you. Obviously, right? We had what we needed. But the things that we really, really wanted that were not a necessity, that was just out of us either being greedy or just having things that we desire, right?
Kids,
we just desire stuff,
you
right?
You want the new MP3 player. You want the new iPhone.
Yes.
You want the
iPad
new
at the time. iPod.
You know,
nanos and stuff.
Everything that comes out, right? Kids want it. So, like Andrea said, they were spoiled. I mean, you know, because I was excited too. I mean, you know, I had prayed for twins. My grandmother was a twin. I always wanted twins, and so to literally have, you know, to see God answer my prayer, I was excited. You know, so I wanted them to experience the good part of life. You know, but obviously I wanted them to also be balanced in that.
Right.
And so giving them things that they desired was easy for me to do. But all the extra, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, okay, well, ask your father.
Yep, she'd say, ask your father. Well, she'd be like, ask your daddy. So you know how, like, first of all, I got something to say on that topic. Now that we on it real quick, I got something to say. First of all, I respected the place that you were coming from. It required
they knew
us.
What I meant.
Yes,
they understood. They were raised. We, you know, were raised in a Christian home.
Yes, that you believe God for things, and you ask God for what you desire, and not like He's a genie in the bottle, but in the sense of there are things that He gives you that that you're supposed to just get from God. And even though we were asked about material things, like, Mom, can we get this, or whatever the case may be, she wanted us to develop a sense of independence, a sense of work ethic, right? Being able to work for things and have faith that things will work itself out, right? So because of that saying, ask your father, was, okay, it really resonated, and I still to this day. And that's why when I saw that at like, what was it, Hobby Lobby or something,
you're like, oh my God,
I couldn't believe it, because I had, the thing about it is, you can tell it's a Christian company, but you can tell that was like someone was thinking, ask your father. And that didn't have to mean your natural father. For me, it didn't mean natural father. It meant my heavenly father. And literally, as an adult, that is something I took away. It made sense to me, right?
Yes.
It made sense to me.
Yes.
Even though as a kid it was like, just give me the $25 so I could go get this, you know, or just do this. But it was like, okay, I take that as a lesson in my adult life, that things that I desire, you know, a career that I might want to work in, or what direction do I go in as far as education, or what relationships do I pursue, or, you know, whatever the thing that I might need. You know, I have this relationship where I know I can go to my mom for anything, but, you know, you can count probably a few times where I was like, hey, Mom, I need this. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help from people and relationships that God has blessed us with. And believe me, I have no hesitation saying, Mama, can you give me this? You know, and you always give me on all the holidays anyway. So the point of what I'm saying, and why I think that made sense to me, and it's something that I think we all, when we come sit down and kind of discuss these things, is make it make sense. It made sense that I would go to my father for things that I needed that my mom can give me.
And then let me interject this. The reason I believe also that it made sense was because there was a format, there was structure given. So I spent time, I invested time in the girls, helping them to understand that, okay, so what is it that you're believing for? Okay, so let's write this vision. So let's get a vision board. So this is what you want. Okay, so when we go to God for things, and when we want something, we have to first make sure that it's in His will. Okay, so let's find a scripture to stand on. Okay, you got a scripture, got this. Okay, you got here's a vision. This is what you want, and now you got some word to stand on it. So there's no reason why this can't happen for you. Right. And then, okay, so where's your faith statement? And these are literally things that I would, teach them to do. And so then on their boards, in their rooms, always had a vision board or a mirror that they could write on. I remember I was actually cleaning up in the basement, and Gigi's was still at home, and on her mirror it said, "Good morning, millionaire." And I was like, oh my God, I need to get this to her. Now that she's grown, married, and has her own kids, this still needs to be in her home, because that's what she put in the atmosphere. That was the vision. That was the thing that she spoke over her life for so many years.
What she asked her father
Right,
for.
what she was asking her father for, right? And so what I wanted the girls to understand was that, yes, God is going to use somebody. And sometimes it was me. Sometimes it was God opening up a door for them to exercise their faith, maybe to take on a job, be it doing photography or babysitting or, you know, working in the office or whatever opportunity God brought to you, so that you could begin to save your money and have a strategy, because what the vision was before you and it was plain. So why am I working? It makes sense to me because I have a vision, because I have some goals, because there's some things that, you know, I'm believing God for. So me saying, go ask your father, they knew it wasn't just, okay, God, let me, you know, this is what I want. But no, there's a process. Let's write the vision. Let's make it plain. Let's put a picture on the board. And it's so incredible. Andrea had the same vision board in her room for probably 3 years. And it was almost not scary, because, you know, and I'm not trying to preach, but, you know, not scary in the fact, because God has to
listen here, this is a discussion. Go on past.
So not scary like that, but it was like goosebumps, like, ooh, because we sat there in her room one day, and everything that she had written, with the exception of probably three things at that time that hadn't come to pass, and now I think
and one thing I stepped out of.
Yeah, now so I was going to say just 2. Yeah, so you still believe in God for that, but just not that particular
thing.
The pieces moved around.
We'll get to that in another episode.
So anyway, it was just amazing. Those things that was in her heart, like, you know, graduating from college, the kind of car that she wanted to drive that she now drives. And this is the thing that took me over one day. So she had a picture of Michelle Obama on her vision board. She's like, you know, I just want to be in the room with Michelle Obama. And I was like, okay, girl, again, ask your father, because I don't know her like that. You know, so I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Connect. But you know, they always say, you know at least 5 people to the person.
Yeah, right. And so we just so happened Becoming Michelle came out, and she had an event here in Detroit, not too far.
I think it's just called Becoming.
By her. Becoming.
Yeah, because she was already Michelle.
Right.
Yeah, right. She was already Michelle.
Hello. So Becoming, the book came out, and so Andrew is like, Mom, Michelle Obama's coming in the area. Let's go. And so I'm like, so Andrea, myself, and my sister went, and we're sitting there, and she's like, Ma.
It just hit me.
I'm in the room with Michelle Obama. Like, she's on the stage right there. I'm sitting right here. And I was like, well, I'll be looking there. You know, it was years since she prayed this out.
Yes.
But then we were just sitting there. She was just talking. And it was like really, she did such a phenomenal job with that tour. It was just like really sitting in the room with your big sister or your auntie.
Relatable
or, your
conversation,
yeah, just
dialogue.
really just speaking to your heart, you know, at the core of who we are, you know, some things that we can do and how we impact people by the decisions that we make. And so that, in that instance of Ask Your Father, the reason why it made sense to her was because of the steps and the tools that she had to walk it out.
Yes, that's really good. Yes, so even with that, on that topic of, I wrote on my vision board, it was her, and I was like, I just want to be in the room. It also speaks to why we should be specific with our vision too, because I didn't get to shake hands with her yet. So the opportunity will come, because she's just a dynamic individual she's just super awesome as a person. It's not that I know her personally, but just when you walked in the room, when you were in the room with her, I was so far away from her because the seats we got, it was like one of those little special, I got this opportunity to win. It opened up like a pre-sale thing, but they had to select you at Ticketmaster or something like that. And so I just so happened to be selected, thank God, for an opportunity to purchase tickets. Well, by the time I actually opened the window to purchase tickets, all the seats at the bottom were sold out. And I really wanted to make sure that me and some other friends and family and people, as many people as I could, would have the opportunity. But to that point, it was so incredible being in the room with that type of presence. And though I was super far up away from her, you felt like you were sitting next to her. And just the dialogue, the room, you could tell everyone was feeling this excitement. And she was just talking about her journey to becoming and doing something kind of like how we're doing today, kind of like just a discussion, and just, it was amazing. But it speaks to being specific, because I believe that if I would have said, I would love to have a discussion with her, and I had it on my vision board with her and myself, and the opportunity as a discussion, I can guarantee you that the opportunity would have come, and it could still come, it could still happen, right? Where I was able to sit like this, have a discussion with her. But I'm telling you, to be in the room, I felt like I was talking with her. She was saying things I was like, yes, feel like it was a church.
See.
Yes, see. And she was just very relatable. So to the point of what this whole episode or dialogue is about, is to remember that you are great. There is some greatness in you, right? And if there's any question as to whether you're going to be successful or what you can achieve and things of that nature, just know that you can, right? And it's important to have great people around you, whether it be your parents, a friend, a mentor, or a teacher, professor, coworker, what have you, someone that is encouraging you to make it make sense, right? When you make a decision, have that accountability, to have someone say, listen, I don't think you should do that. That don't sound like that's the right move for you. That don't look like that will make sense for what you're trying to accomplish in your life. And so, with that being said, I really hope that this episode, I know we kind of touched over a lot of different things. It's just getting our feet wet here and just make it make sense with discussion with that. So, Drea, I think we're going to wrap. Is there something you want to share? Is there some input?
The last thing I think is just with that question that I used to post on my girls, like, does that make sense to you? I hope this video or this discussion will inspire you just to kind of reflect a little bit. Jot down some things and just think about some things in your life that maybe is a little heavy, or some things that you're not sure of, or some things, if you felt like you've been on this cycle, just ask yourself, does that make sense to you? Not in a sarcastic way, but like, really, okay, think now, does that make sense? And should I be doing this? Is it time to let this go? Is it time to do something different?
Talk about it.
Is it time, to maybe tweak the plan or the vision, or I've been holding on to some things that maybe it's time to let go, or I decided to let go of some things that really I need to be pulling close to me, right? So just within your own self, ask your own self, does that make sense to you?
Right.
And then preferably you have an accountability partner, a close friend, a spouse, or someone that you allow to ask you that question.
Right.
Because, we get defensive. It's a hard question to hear. That's why it irritated my daughters.
It irritated
and
me.
They
to do better, though.
To roll their eyes at me and stuff like that. But I'm like, does that make sense to you? Like, why would you do that? Like, let's think about this choice, right? Because you're not going to be here at my house forever. I'm not going to always take care of you. You're going to go out into the world and do great things. So does that make sense to you? Allow people to ask you that from a place of love, not a place of judgment or condemnation or being hurtful or, whatever. But just come on, sis. Let's just think about it.
Think about it. No, for real. And like you were saying, as we're wrapping up this episode, is, engaging in different, relationships and things of that nature. Does this make sense for where I want to be, right? Make it make sense, sis. If it don't make sense, okay, don't do it. I really believe that. I believe if it's not something that you've thought it through. I mean, the Bible talks about that. You count up the cost before you start to build something, right? You assess the situation before you go out and just start doing. So I think that that's something that I would say as a great takeaway. And so if you guys are enjoying this episode and you would like to pose some questions, make sure you comment below and, give my mom a thumbs up. Yay, mommy, you did great.
I had a great time talking to you guys today. Thank you for allowing me to be your very first guest.
Yes. It only made sense.
What an honor.
it only made sense that you would be the first guest and that the first episode is, does that make sense to you? And in that tone. But make sure you guys tune in every Friday. We're going to be having a new episode. You can check it out on my YouTube at That's So Drea. Please go to my Instagram at That's So Drea. I think it's _ check out my mom, VP, Vanessa Pringle, on all social media. What's your Instagram handle and stuff? She don't know. We'll put it in the description box.
It's Sweetness 31, but it's something else in there.
Huh?
I mean, it's like an underscore or something.
Okay, we'll put all of the handles. We'll put all the handles below, down below. But make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Really pose some questions so we can kind of get some things going, conversation, keep it going. And you all just watch an episode of Make It Make Sense with That's So Drea. And that makes sense to me.